It's been more than a year now since the idea of developing a white paper was first conceived. There have been a series of meetings and discussions, not only the Industrial Logistics Committee of ICC within, but also with the representatives of the industry and the state government. It was a consensus view to rope in the services of rights for undertaking this study. And I'm glad that we have two of the senior executives participating today for taking all the necessary inputs and ideas from all present here today. Before we can freeze the terms of reference, in fact, we had drawn up a broad terms of reference, and then we had interacted with rights. And accordingly, they had come up with their offer, which is sort of still in the final stages. And I think today is the main platform occasion on which we can share ideas and finally freeze those specifications. Because it's very important that we do not allow that specs to be open-ended, because once we have that kind of a situation, it leads to time and cost overruns of the project. So we will broadly incorporate all the inputs that are necessary for undertaking this white paper, and thereafter get started with the job. So today's e-session is divided into two sessions. The first of each, 1 hour each. The first one, of course, is the introductory part, and which will be giving the broad overview of this concept of the white paper. And the second one will be the detailed interaction, which Santosh sir will be chairing, and we'll be getting the inputs. So with those words, I think I will now request Sri J.V. Pani, Chairman, ICC Odisha State Council, to deliver his welcome address. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ajay Behra, and thank you for accepting to be the convener for this very, very important thing, important activity, which I feel will have long-term ramifications for not only the state, but the country.
Thank you.
Mr. Hemant Sharma, Principal Secretary, Industries Department, Government of Odisha. Mr. Ashutosh Gautam, Member Technical, Inland Waterways Authority of India, Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, Government of India. Dr. Ram Prasad Panda, Chief General Manager, Technical and Regional Officer, National Highway Authorities of India, Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. Mr. C.L. Shah, IRTS, General Manager, Transportation and Economics, Rights, Government of India. Miss Anita Malhotra, AGM, Rights. Mr. B.K. Das, Director, Production and Director, Commercial, National of NALCO. Mr. Manish Kharbanda, Member, Core and Advisory Committee and Mentor, Steel and Mines Committee, ICC, as well as advisor and corporate levels at JSPL. Mr. Ranjan Naik, CEO Mining. Mr. Satrujit Kumar, Head Logistics, JSW. Mr. Shashi S. Upadhyay, Convener, Steel and Mines Committee, ICC Odisha, and Whole-Time Director, Jindal Coke Limited, and Resident Director, Jindal Stainless Steel Limited. Mr. Pradeep Bal, Chief, Center of Excellence for Supply Chain, Tata Steel. Mr. and Santosh Kumar Mahapatra, IAS, Member, Core and Advisory Committee and Mentor cum Principal Advisor, ICC Odisha Industrial Logistics Committee, and former Chairman of Paradip Port Trust, former CEO cum Director, Dhamra and Vilinjam Ports. Mr. Rajesh Roy Chaudhary, Managing Director, Architecno Consultants, India. All esteemed dignitaries and stalwarts, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the commissioning e-session stakeholders consultation on white paper transport logistics infrastructure of Odisha, focus on industry and mining. We are extremely honored to have you all with us today at this webinar. I sincerely welcome everyone present at the session. Infrastructure development is one of the major factors contributing to overall economic development in many ways, such as direct investment on infrastructure creates production facilities and stimulates economic activities. It reduces transaction costs and trade costs, improving competitiveness. It provides employment opportunities and physical and social infrastructure for the poor and the people. In contrast, lack of infrastructure creates bottlenecks for sustainable growth and poverty reduction. Infrastructure investment generally has two types of effects. First, it has demand creation effect in other economic activities, which is a flow impact. Second, it has a stock impact, which makes better availability of services and improves productivity of private sector and the economy as a whole. The need of the hour is to plan and implement a robust infrastructure in the state to support its fast-growing economy, encompassing in a comprehensive manner all modes of transport like roads, rail, waterways, ports, slurry pipelines, conveyor belts, ancillary infrastructure like warehouses, ICDs, CFSs, logistic parks, cold chain, and all of these availed and operated by best practices in logistics and supply chain management. A system of smart transport infrastructure is imperative for connecting and spurring economic growth in our state. Several opportunities are available in areas like roads and highways, railways, development of ports, multimodal hubs, and I would say one of the biggest is the inland waterways, which will be a big challenge. And private investments and policy initiatives can play an extremely important role in providing a better infrastructure in the state. I dare say when ICC started having this meeting and churning up that we should have a very, very holistic, comprehensive planning for infrastructure, which not only includes industry, but also includes agriculture, it includes human transport. So we have met every single person. We have met Mr. Madhu Padi, Commerce and Transport Secretary, Mr. D.K. Singh, Steel and Mine Secretary, Mr. Vashisht, Agriculture, and we also have met, of course, Mr. Hemant Sharma has been all the time guiding us, and the government of Orissa has given its unqualified support. And we are not only talking about Orissa, we are talking about all the pass-throughs. Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and to a certain degree Bengal are dependent because the ports are here. The ports will be, the deep sea ports will be here. The future is here. And this entire thing, the region has to be developed because most of the mines are, and the large industries, the mineral-based industries are based here, as well as to ensure there is no bottleneck. So it's a very comprehensive plan, and we are extremely grateful to RITES and to the galaxy of people, knowledgeable people that we have sort of been able to reach out, and they have given their unqualified, unstinted support. And I look forward that this particular white paper, a perspective plan for the next 20-25 years, will go a long way to help not only Orissa reaching its $1 trillion economy, but also ensure that India reaches its $5 trillion economy ASAP. With these words, I thank all of you and welcome my eminent guests and speakers, and look forward to an engaging discussion and interaction and finalizing the terms of reference. Thank you. A special thanks to Mr. Ajay Behera and Mr. Santosh Mahapatra. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pani, for those wonderful words. You have been the driving force behind this project, and I'm sure we are going to see through over the next couple of months, maybe a year at the most. The very idea of the white paper on the logistics infrastructure for the state of Odisha was conceived by none other than Sri Santosh Mahapatra. with his vast experience in the domain of port management and port and maritime logistics. I would now like to request Sri Mahapatra, former Chairman Paradip Port Trust and former CEO cum Director Dhamra and Vizhinjam Ports, to give his address.
Thank you, Ajay Babu.
Just a minute, Santosh.
Yeah.
Has Mr. Hemant Sharma joined, sir?
Yes, sir. Hemant sir joined, sir.
Good morning, sir, and welcome.
Yes.
Yeah, good morning, Spani. I'm there. I was there throughout your interesting welcome address. I was there. I listened to you.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, good morning, sir.
So would you like to speak now, or would you like to speak after Mr. Santosh Mahapatra? Whatever, it depends upon your...
No, in fact, I requested you because at 11:30 I have to meet Principal Advisor to Honorable Chief Minister for some urgent discussion related to some of the policies. But it is up to you. I mean, if you give me time now, I would be very happy. If you give me time a little later, also again, I would be, even happy. Absolutely no. It's up to you.
So I would suggest, Mr. Santosh, that if let Mr. Hemant Sharma speak first, and after that you can give a presentation. You can be there for as long as you can. Is that okay with you, sir? Mr. Santosh?
Yeah, it's okay with me. No problem.
Thank you. So nice. So
Whatever
Mr.
suits Mr. Sharma.
Please, Mr. Hemant Sharma, please go ahead, sir.
All right. In fact, first of all, I extend a very warm welcome to our own, very own Mr. Santosh Mahapatra, who has been the driving force, I would say, the brain behind this entire concept of bringing out a white paper on logistics infrastructure sector in the state of Orissa, and also taking the region as a unit rather than looking only at the state. I extend a very warm welcome to him, and I also extend a warm welcome to all the delegates who have joined this interesting logistics. Again, as I mentioned, I'm very happy to attend. The team led by Mr. Pani has been meeting me for quite some time in the past, particularly while this seminar was being planned. And I also gave some interesting suggestions to how we can make this white paper more true to the expectations of the clients, of the industrial and economic clients, and also to the service providers, for instance, the railways, the ports, and others. So it's an interesting subject, and I would say a very timely intervention by ICC to have come up with this kind of a white paper on logistics. Now, all of us know that logistics is one of the most important elements of industrial ecosystem. Any industrial ecosystem, or rather an economic ecosystem, one of the most important elements is logistics. It has always been there, but its requirement, the need of a well-planned, well-integrated, well-implemented, well-functional logistics sector is being felt today more than what it was being felt earlier. Why? Because now industrial ecosystems, industrial sectors, economic sectors on a state basis or regional basis are more integrated with each other. You cannot talk of industry in Orissa without talking of the clients in Western India. You cannot talk of the clients in Western India or customer base in Western India without talking of the raw material base in Odisha or in Chhattisgarh or Jharkhand. You cannot talk of manufacturing products in Orissa without talking of the supplier base in Europe or in Africa or in Southeast Asia. So it's all integrated. It is so integrated in its reach and scope that any product or any service being manufactured or being delivered anywhere in the world is intrinsically linked in one way or the other to the entire world. So that's what is called the global value chain. The global value chain and the global supply chains are one and the same. I mean, there is just a difference of how you define one, but you cannot distinguish one from the other. Therefore, logistics is important, and more important for a state like Orissa, where the economy is based on what is called the resource base of the state. Whether it is in the agriculture sector, the pisciculture sector, or in the mining metallurgical sector, we are one of the states where logistics is the most important element of the well-functional and well-vibrant or a vibrant industrial ecosystem. Therefore, its need is very well understood. I would say that about a decade ago, logistics generally meant transport. So when we were talking of logistics, we used to talk of transport only. Transport also would generally mean that whether you have a port, whether there is a well interconnected railway system, do you have how many kilometers of national highways do you have? So it was basically rail, road, ports, and to some extent airports. Airports were more important for international cargo and services movement and less important for a state like us. So logistics, till a decade ago, for a state like Orissa, we used to talk only about transport. But today, logistics is much more than transport. I mean, you cannot have logistics, a discussion on logistics without actually discussing the communication infrastructure. Communication infrastructure, which is a layer built on information technology, electronics, and communication, is as intrinsic part of logistics as any rail or road network is, because without a well-functional communication network, transport network doesn't perform to the optimal capacity. Similarly, if you add another layer, financial technology, what is called fintech, a good functional financial technology sector is also a part of logistics, because unless you have a very well functional and integrated financial layer over transport layer, you cannot call it logistics. Just to give a simple example, you may be having a good port, you may be having a potential port, but if banking services, financial services are not present there, if ancillary services in terms of financial services are not co-located with your port becomes half functional. Therefore, logistics is not only about transport, it is also about communication. It is also about a lot of other ancillary services. For instance, financial services and banking services is another layer which is as integral a part of logistics as any other part of the sector. But more importantly, the basic design element of logistics is transport. It is transport, and it will continue to remain transport. Transport also is now acquiring multiple dimensions. I mean, earlier the value which was placed on road and rail transport, today that value continues, but more and more value is also being placed on other modes of transport. For instance, inland waterways mode of transport is something which is yet to be explored and which is yet to be exploited to its full potential. Very interestingly, in a state like Orissa, slurry pipelines and gas and oil pipelines have become another important element of logistics. They are an equal partner or equally placed element of logistics as a rail network or a road network. So we cannot lose sight of a pipeline infrastructure, of a pipeline network in our state, which is connected with other regions or with other territories in the country, if we were to actually talk of a multi-dimensional logistics sector. So what is called multi-modal logistics or multi-modal transport is actually multiple modal transport in more ways than it is generally understood. Generally, people would say that if you have a logistics park, if you should have a railway siding, you should have a national highway connectivity, that's it. That becomes multimodal. Actually, it doesn't become multimodal unless it gets interconnected with so many other elements of logistics and transportation. So when we are talking of a white paper on logistics infrastructure in a state like Orissa, we have to inbuild all these dimensions. We have to take a more broad as well as deeper view while discussing the logistics sector in a state like Orissa. From the state government side, we are yet to come up with a logistics policy. A logistics policy is in the offing. Government of India has advised all states. There is a sort of model logistics policy also circulated by Government of India in the recent past, which takes into account all that I just mentioned to you. The Government of India also regularly brings out a logistics index to rate the performance and preparedness of states in terms of logistics infrastructure. And Orissa, for instance, in the last report, we scored 3.1 on a scale of 5. But still, we have a long way to go. And that logistics report, what is generally called the Leeds report, it brought out in stark contrast what we are lacking as compared to other similarly placed states in the neighborhood. Policy is one way in which state government can support. the coming up of a well-functional, efficient logistics sector. And another support can be provided by coming up with programmatic support. Programmatic support would be such as public-private partnerships for bringing in elements which are not present today. For instance, in the major ports today, much of the public infrastructure is actually being developed on a public-private partnership basis. You would find whole berths or specialized terminals being devised and operated in ports these days, as well as in airports, even in railway sector, which are more in public-private partnership mode than it used to be earlier. So both policy support as well as programmatic support is possible from the state government, provided we get the right feedback, right inputs from workshops and from intellectual inputs like we are discussing today. So that's all from my side. I would be, it is very interesting, it is important, and I would be very happy to learn from all the delegates who have joined this seminar today, and the white paper, the multiple dimensions and multiple challenges which the white paper will bring forth to us. From the state government side, we would diligently work on all the suggestions which are made. That's all from my side at the beginning, but thank you so much.
Would you like me to resume, Dula?
Yeah. No, Mr. Behra was saying, but he was muted.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Sharma. You have practically covered every single issue that needed to be covered as far as this white paper is concerned. And you correctly pointed out that multimodal logistics is the order of the day, and logistics is no longer about rail transportation or road transportation. It has got a gamut of activities like warehousing and the layering of the financial services and whole other ancillary support activities. And we do intend to cover all these issues in this white paper, and we will need your support, sir. And one important thing is that since we will require a lot of data to go ahead and prepare this report, so there would be a need for having a single window where the rights could coordinate directly and then avail of the inputs from the state government side. So I hope you can extend that help to us. With those words, I would now request Mr. Santosh Mahapatra to take forward with this presentation. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Ajay Babu. Thank you, Mr. Pani. And thank you, Mr. Hemant Sharma, for joining us and giving a very comprehensive kind of introduction to today's discussion. I remember more than a year back when Prashant Mishra was convener of this committee, and I was to attend the first meeting of that committee. I couldn't attend, so I joined telephonically. And Prashant asked me what is my suggestion. I said we must first have on table what we have and what we need to have. And why not we take up as our first activity a comprehensive, a holistic survey of the infrastructure, the transport infrastructure as it exists in state, and what we need. Subsequently, we have had more than 2 or 3 webinars or workshops on this subject prior to initiating the study. Therefore, today I thought I will not go into the same issues we have touched upon again and again, the principles behind infrastructure, how important is logistics to industry, how to reduce the cost of logistics, etc. But during these discussions, we have brought in some clarity about what we need to survey, what you need to study and bring out in this white paper. And I said it's time that I put on paper some of these concepts, some of these clarifications that we have arrived at. And that's precisely what I'm going to do. I'm sharing I'm sharing a short presentation on this. I think I have to go to my files, right?
Share screen, sir. That green button, share screen.
Yeah. And then your screen sharing, right?
Yeah,
how do I
it's visible
retrieve the
now.
file? How do I retrieve the file there?
Sir, you have to open that period, that presentation file, PPT.
Okay. Just a minute.
Yeah, it's opening.
It's opening. You can see this, right?
Yeah.
Good. I'm not great at putting down on paper or preparing a presentation, but my idea was to just put down some of the concepts. This is about the infrastructure mapping
Sir,
of Odisha.
just make it full screen, sir. So down.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
My idea was.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
So the first job is to spell out the objective of this particular white paper. It is to make an assessment of demand and capacity of infrastructure in Odisha so that the stakeholders, both government and non-government, can work towards bridging the gap between estimated demand and required capacity. I have tried to put in very simple words what exactly we want to achieve, but as you know, the simple words need more explaining than words that are not simple. So in the subsequent slides, I have explained some of these concepts. Here, infrastructure, as Mr. Sharma has also touched upon the subject, refers to transport infrastructure and includes all modes of transport, including roads, rail, waterways, both inland and sea, air, pipelines, conveyor belt, and includes inter alia, ports, terminals, ICDs, CFS, warehousing, transport hubs, cold chain, air cargo depot, whatever physical facilities that we need to build to make these modes of transport operational. Of all these modes of transport, we can always widen the roads, add a third track to the rail track. But if there is one game changer, it is, I should say, the waterways. I remember while I was working in the ports, I was being asked again and again, why don't you build a 300 million ton port, 400 million ton port like the Europe has, and why we are going for ports starting with capacity like 30 million tons, 40 million tons. And we are celebrating when we reach 100 million ton, which Paradip recently achieved, the second port in India, second major port in India to achieve that kind of cargo level. And my answer was, and I'll repeat that answer, the European ports are lucky, extremely lucky, to evacuate more than half of their cargo through inland waterways. If I build a port at Dhamra with 300 million ton capacity, I will need to have 100 trains coming in and 100 trains going out, apart from thousands of trucks. It's physically impossible. It will create a kind of congestion in the ecosystem that the ecosystem cannot bear. And fortunately in Odisha, all our ports, and prominently Dhamra and Paradip, are not exactly riverine ports. They are not on the river, but they are near the mouths of the river, which means that with very little effort, we can connect them upstream with the rivers. And that is where the importance of waterway number 5, national waterway number 5 comes in. Years back, I mean 25 years back, I don't remember which 5-year plan, it was 10th or 9th 5-year plan. There was in those days a provision of 2,000 crore in the 5-year plan for this particular waterway, and we didn't avail it, we didn't pursue it, and now there's no provision. Government realized that they cannot spend such a lot of money. But I have always been saying that the fair way, meaning the dredging of the river and preparing it, meaning diverting the bridges, redoing the bridges, etc., have to be done by the government. This is something which private operators should not risk their money in. You can leave the terminals, the barging and other operations to the private operators, but this is what, and I can assure, since Mr. Saha is there, I suppose Mr. Sharma is there, the member technical is there, I can assure that this waterway will have the highest cargo turnover of all the waterways in India. And if any waterway can become finally commercially viable, it is this waterway number 5, joining the mineral belt of Odisha with Kalinganagar and with 2 ports. You'll very rarely find such a lot of things within such a short distance. of waterway as here. I'll move over to the next concept. Actually, today, the idea is to clarify what exactly we want to include in this white paper. Transport means transport mainly of cargo. Let's be very clear. Yeah, transport usually includes passengers and cargo, but here we'll take cargo. And passenger transport to the extent it affects the movement of cargo by the same mode. You won't believe how often I was approached that we should have a passenger train from Bhadrak to Dhamra. Fortunately, it was a private airline and I could successfully resist that demand, which in Paradip, for example, I couldn't do. Let's remember, one passenger train can knock off a capacity of 5 to 6 goods trains from a railway track. And do we need to connect every village with a railway line? Can't we have a policy like, if there is another railway line within 100 kilometers, you don't have to run a passenger train on this line because the safety standards go up and it becomes a different game. And let me clarify, I'm getting into the issue proper. Actually, I should only stick to what we want to study. Cargo includes mainly industrial cargo, which includes mineral cargo, project cargo, and construction cargo. Construction cargo mainly includes cement and steel. And agriculture cargo of substantial volume and special requirement. We can't really cover each and every small agricultural cargo which goes by tractor from field to village site. But yeah, there's certain agricultural commodities that are of substantial value and certain which have very special requirement because they are perishable goods. Cargo of all these types should include dry bulk cargo, break bulk cargo, containerized cargo, liquid cargo, and hazardous cargo. These are some clarification on what transport means and what cargo means. Then we have also said that we will make an assessment of demand and capacity. So let's understand what we understand by demand. Demand refers to pressure on infrastructure and includes existing demand of industries and mines, etc., already in operation, projected demand of those in pipeline, estimated demand 1 and 2 above validated by growth projections and other relevant indicators and drivers. Growth projections, of course, we all understand GDP growth rate, what we are projected growth rate is. But by driver, I mean there are certain events, certain activities, we make a substantial change to the demand pattern, like the unlocking of the coal mines in Talcher, for example. It will suddenly create a huge change to the demand pattern. So also the investment of a very large amount of money in a large steel plant producing 10 or 20 million tons of steel. So these events, these activities, these projected or possible activities should be also identified. And demand needs to be expressed in terms of volume of cargo needing to use the infrastructure, and it would include different kinds of cargo, which can be own cargo, meaning cargo which is generated in the state and consumed in the state, or exported from a port within the state. Entry cargo, meaning cargo this entering the state and consumed within the state or exported from a port, like iron ore coming from Jharkhand and exported through Paradip, let's say. Or exit cargo, cargo generated in the state but exiting to another state, like alumina going from Koraput to, let's say, Visakhapatnam for export. Or transit cargo, cargo passing through the state from the third state to the fourth state or second state to the third state. Capacity refers to the load or pressure the infrastructure is designed to bear or handle and needs to be expressed in terms of annual volume for each mode of transport, be it rail, road, whatever mode of transport. Required capacity. If you remember in the objective, we said to bridge the gap between estimated demand and required capacity. Here I would repeat something I emphasized last time, that the difference between industrial capacity and infrastructure capacity is that we are happy when industrial capacity is fully utilized or even overutilized. But we are not happy. In fact, we are in serious problem if the infrastructure capacity is fully utilized or more than fully utilized. In infrastructure, full utilization means partial utilization. You get a berth in a train by walking into the station, not when there are 100 passengers and 100 berths, but when there are 70 passengers and 100 berths, because there are so many other unseen factors which come in. And that surplus is essential for the seamless use of any infrastructure. In ports, for example, if the berth utilization exceeds 70%, we have a warning signal that there is going to be pre-berth delay, there is going to be congestion, and there is some ship may divert itself to another port. So capacity utilization in infrastructure is always a partial utilization. It can never be full utilization. And by rule of thumb, I always say it is 2/3, 1/3. 2/3 is utilized, 1/3 is surplus. And for computing capacity in a multimodal manner, the least capacity of all modes shall constitute the capacity. Last WhatsApp, I had given the example of how if we are taking the iron ore route from somewhere North Orissa to a port in Dhamra or port in Paradip, it is the port capacity, loading capacity, the stacking capacity in the port, the rail capacity from that place to the port, and to begin with, the capacity of the road from the mine head to the railhead. And if that capacity is lower than all the three capacities, then the route capacity will be that capacity. I had quoted the goal theory that a chain is as strong as the weakest link in that chain. And that is how capacity has to be reckoned for infrastructure capacity. I have tried to just put together in brief, what is the scope of this study? Of course, it includes demand assessment, capacity assessment. Demand I have defined and clarified, capacity I have defined and clarified, identification and prioritization of new infrastructure projects, and policy recommendations. Because infrastructure is also dependent on a whole lot of policy. The location policy, where a steel plant should be, has always been a debate. Should it be near the mine head? Should it be near the port? Because almost equal volume of coking coal and limestone have to be imported for making of steel. Or should it be somewhere in between? And today the consensus is the ideal location is near the port, provided you have a slurry pipeline from the mine to the location, so that you are totally free from so that you are totally free from the clutches of the Indian Railway. You know, freedom means to Afghanistan, freedom from US, freedom means different things to different people. Freedom for an industry is freedom from the Indian Railways, I can tell you. If you don't depend on the wagon allotment and whatever comes with it. Sorry, I have so many colleagues from the railways. I'm just saying that you can have a steel plant virtually without depending on railway. The iron ore coming through the slurry pipe and the coal coming from Australia by ship and getting unloaded. But yeah, you will depend on the railway for your finished products. So there is actually no freedom. Then tariff policy can play a great role. You remember when we had the equalization of tariff earlier, how much unnecessary travel mineral cargo had to undertake for far off distant locations. And it is only after revision of that policy that steel plants are coming near where iron ore is available. Otherwise, it could come anywhere. And I still don't understand the slabbing and the other aspects of railway tariff, which, for example, when I was in Dhamra, the railway tariff from the mine to Dhamra was nearly 80% of the railway tariff from mine to Visakhapatnam, because there are some concession for distance above 500 kilo, something. I hope those have been abolished now. But the slabbing and these other aspects, sometimes they tweak the transportation system entirely for non-optimal utilization of the capacity. And of course, PPP, Mr. Sarma has already touched upon it. I have seen PPP from the side of the government, chief executive of Gujarat Infrastructure Board, and I've seen PPP from the private side by implementing it. I cannot speak on this subject now because it's a subject close to my heart and I'll need a whole lot of time to discuss it. So I just skip it. Then the recommendation on processes and practices. Processes means, like when I was in Paradip, a single truck could handle 8 trains a day. And when we built the Dhamra port, a single truck could handle 15 to 18 trains a day, just because our signaling system was much more advanced than it was in Paradip at that point of time, let's say. So a lot of processes, the track remaining same, the infrastructure remaining same, the processes can increase the capacity. So also track and trace system of the road transport can also increase the total utilization of the road capacity. This is more about practices are more about technology than anything else today. Even by infrastructure, we mean the static physical infrastructure, but even the mobile infrastructure like rolling stock and the vehicles, a spelling mistake, and vessels also play a role. Earlier, we had the average size of a ship was 30,000 ton in a port. Today in Dhamra, you can see 180,000 ton ships are being loaded. That means a huge lot of increase in the port capacity. So the average capacity of a berth at that time was 6 million ton. Today it is 12 or 13 million ton. So the vessel size can make a difference. So also the loading system, unloading system. We have our trains carry about 4,000 tons or so, and we know that in Australia the trains carry about 10,000 tons or 12,000 tons or maybe more, I don't know, but we have our limitations. But by improving upon the a truck earlier used to carry 10 tons. Today, average, it carries more than 20 tons. So infrastructure remaining the same, the rolling stock can also make a difference. And this study should also touch upon this aspect. And of course, the study on the whole should look at cost effectivity and sustainability, which means the environmental aspect of transportation, which is very important. I am no one to suggest approach or methodology to rights. We would rather like them to suggest what they want to do, but there are a few suggestions that I would mention about the approach. As I said in one of the earlier workshops, infrastructure planning should be predictive rather than reactive. So don't merely depend on the feedback about overutilization of existing infrastructure. Sometimes you have to kind of write off an existing infrastructure and plan a future in a manner so that this problem can be totally changed rather than trying to retrofit the existing infrastructure in various ways. And it should be specific. This is the last slide. Specific rather than general. Mr. Sharma mentioned about the Deloitte study. I studied it. It didn't make me wiser because it gives you a mark for the mark for, let's say, availability of infrastructure. Let's say road. It is so many kilometer road for 1,000 square kilometers. So you get so much mark. How does it make a difference to the actual congestion? Actual congestion is actually the main routes. The route from the mine to the port, the mine to the manufacturing area to port. I mean, these routes have to be identified, and the density of these roads have to be taken into account. Or you can have a route approach, or you can have a cargo approach, like you can identify what are the main cargoes which are moving in Odisha, and which are the routes these cargoes are taking. So you can take two approaches and arrive at a solution. And today we have a lot of mathematical modeling and simulations also available. I should think that a good study should use one of these quantitative techniques to give us alternative solutions. And there can be many creative solutions. Few days back, a group of, two gentlemen met me, and they told me that they have met all the secretaries of the state government also. They were thinking of a direct connectivity from port to a mine, let's say, and that connectivity consists of an infrastructure which is something like a sky rail, an elevated structure on which the self-propelled wagons go and come back at a interval of 100 to 200 meters between each of them, whose speed and distances can be increase or decrease like a pipeline, like you are releasing, water through a pipeline. You can increase it or decrease it, and the capacity can be hugely dynamic depending on the need. No, it looks like just an idea, but these are the ideas we can work on. In fact, this is an idea nowhere in the world it has been tried. I congratulated them, but I said you need to do much more homework before somebody can buy your idea. So, so you have all the possibilities, my friends in rights. I have great faith in you. I have seen you working for ports 30 years back, and I was very impressed with that study. I gave a study on roads to rights. And therefore, I thought if rights has worked on ports, right can work on roads, and rights originate from rail, they should be the ideal agency to work on infrastructure. And it was my suggestion to Prashant that we should give this study to rights. And fortunately, Ajay Babu, with his charm, with his persuasive skill, has reached out to rights and brought them together. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Ajay Babu. And let's proceed.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving us a complete overview of the expectations from this white paper. And I'm sure Mr. Shah has absorbed most of it, and we're going to incorporate those specific issues there is in your report. In the meanwhile, we have the pleasure of welcoming Mr. Ashutosh Gautam from the Inland Waterways Authority of India. And we welcome you, Mr. Gautam. We'll be interacting with you extensively. This is a very new domain that we are looking at for, as Mahapatra sir has said, as waterways number 5 is the future for the state in a lot of ways. And we would also look at your inputs in that area. Just before that, I would quickly set the stage for, before I invite Mr. Shah of Rights to come in and make his presentation. I'll request Jyoti to kindly upload my presentation. At the cost of repeating what Mr. Mahapatra has already said, I just quickly rush through what the scope is all about and how we are proposing to go about it. Mr. Jyoti, can you please upload it?
Yeah, sir. I'm sharing.
Mr. Behra, I would like you to just, I would like specifically again on behalf of ICC thank Mr. Ashutosh Gautam for having joined, because he has been very, very busy, but he was so humble that he said that not necessarily that I'm busy every day, but unfortunately today. So we requested him to come for some time.
Okay.
And because inland water, and then he not only has, he's committed that he will come to Bhubaneswar and discuss with all of us. So that's so nice of Mr. Gautam, and thank you for coming. And if you can, Mr. Gautam, just wait for this presentation. After that, we would like to ask you to talk.
If you have the time, Mr. Gautam, or you would like to speak right now?
You are muted, sir. You are muted.
You are on mute, sir.
Thank you very much, Chairman, sir. And thank you, all participants, everyone. Basically, for 2 days, yesterday and today, we have active deliberation on the Indian Vessel Bill, which has recently been passed by the Parliament. And I am the convener of that stakeholder coordination. So for 2 days, I was busy in the conference room. It is also a virtual meeting, but since I have to moderate each and everything at every chapter and every rule, which is likely to be finalized. So that's why I requested the chairman, Mr. Pani and others, and Ms. Sharmila Chaudhary, who was in constant touch with me, that may not be possible for the whole time, but definitely at the time when my slot is defined, I will definitely try to come. I was hearing the presentation and looking at it of Mr. Mahapatra, and it is so basically, in case I am provided 5 minutes right now, it will be I will be thankful to all, and because I may not be very well prepared to talk in such a august gathering when everyone from Odisha is available, important. So basically, I can come again after 20 minutes because I have been here for more than 15-20 minutes. I will go to the conference room and I will again join after 10-15 minutes. And then I may kindly be given for 5 minutes, as you are saying, whenever I join. And then I will share some of the though I have joined IWI recently on deputation. I am a man of roads, basically from Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. But recently, since it is also one of the very interesting infrastructure subject, so I will definitely share some of the most important challenges and other things IWI is facing, and the importance of NW5 and how we can contribute to develop state of Odisha and how it can be connected. So all those things which can be explored either by the IWI or with the help of the state governments, I will try to share. And definitely in that 5-10 minutes unprepared slot, I will definitely try to share my views. Thank you. I am joining. I am continuing to join, and I will try to join again after 10-15 minutes actively. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ashutosh. We look forward to it. Yeah, Jyoti, please, can you quickly?
Yeah, I'm sharing now.
Yeah.
Is it visible, sir?
Yeah, just put it
Yeah.
full screen and I'll just tell you to just switch over whenever.
Yeah.
Yeah, next. Just move on, please. Yes. So starting with the purpose, why we are having this white paper is basically Odisha, we all know, is the richest in terms of mineral resources of iron ore, coal, bauxite, dolomite, chromite ore, limestone, a whole lot of them. And among the nation's resources, if you look at iron ore, it's about 28%, coal accounts for 24%, bauxite accounts for 59%, chromite as much as 98%, limestone 40%, and so it's one of the richest in terms of mineral resources. The iron and steel and aluminum industry, this is the hub of these industries. And iron and steel, broadly, the ratio of the finished product to raw materials is about 1:3. For 1 ton of steel, you need 3 tons of raw materials. And in aluminum, it is 1:20 a huge 20. So for producing 1 ton of aluminum, you require as much as 20 tons of raw material, predominantly bauxite and coal. Coal is it because it's a power intensive industry. So we have been talking about the burgeoning growth and the capacity bottlenecks. And the transport logistic infrastructure is very robust, not really bad if you compare in the national network. But a lot more needs to be done because it's already bursting in the seams. The logistics costs are very high, and we need to look at new modes like the inland waterways and pipelines, which are not tapped to the full potential. While there is an alternative to the railways and the road by way of the pipelines are, as far as iron ore slurry is concerned, is confined to the fines only, which is almost 2/3 of the total iron ore that is mined, 1/3 being the lump ore. The industry people may correct me if I'm wrong. So the railways and the road are going to coexist with the pipelines. Pipelines certainly appears to be the cheapest option at the moment, but a combination of various modes would make logistics costs lower than what it is today. And I think it will be a win-win situation if competing modes can have synergy between them and provide the customer with the least cost option as far as the logistics cost is concerned. Then the need for this white paper emanates basically from what is the present capacity and what are the projections and how is it geared up to handle the volumes that is going to come up in the future, what should be there in the future, and what should be the ideal transport logistics choice in terms of logistics costs. That is going to be crucial from the customer's perspective. beneficiaries of this white paper would be the stakeholders. By the stakeholders, I would mean the state government, the industries, both the existing as well as the new industries which are in the pipeline and that are not yet there, but which may come up in the future. And also logistics service providers. Today we are having many companies, both in the public as well as private sector, into this business of providing logistics services. And the new areas like third-party logistics with IT being the backbone and financial services, as Mr. Sharma has mentioned, that these are all comprehensive components of the multimodal logistics services. Yeah, next, please. Jyoti, can we go to the next slide, please? Can we move to the next slide, Mr. Jyoti?
Yes, yes, sir. I'm doing that. Just some issue here. Yeah, this one, sir.
Yeah, so we are broadly dividing it into three segments. First one is covering the industries and mines. Here would require a whole lot of data, the district-wise data of all existing industries in two broad categories, MSME as well as large industries. Product profile and capacity of these industries in million tons per annum, and inbound raw material traffic from within and from out of the state, and outbound finished goods traffic. Then we need to have the modal split. What is the cargo volumes being moved by various modes of transport today? And what are the clearances accorded by the government of Odisha for new industries that are to come up? We have kept a span of 10 years. In fact, it could be more than that also, but I think a study is good enough for 10 years because things would be changing and thereafter we would need to update it. Clearance given by the state for various other mines and raw materials that will be sourced from Orissa, from industries outside the state. Then district-wise data of mines and volumes, volume-wise offtake of minerals to industries within and outside the state. Here, what is to be noted is there may be duplication of figures in case of raw material movement from the Odisha mines to the industries within the state. Then, of course, clearance given by the for new mines by the state government in terms of quantity to be raised per annum. So all these need to be factored into what is going to be the capacity, what exists today and what it is going to be in the next 10 years time. So accordingly, we need to develop the commensurate capacity in the various transport modes. Yes, please go to the next slide. This one is about the transport modes. Broadly, we have the 4 modes, 5 to be precise: road, rail, ports, and the untapped 2 modes, that is inland waterways transport and the pipelines. Here again, we need to have a complete assessment of the existing roads, national highways, state highways, others, with length and present level of utilization of the capacity. What is the future expansion plans of the roads? What is under construction? What are sanctioned and what is planned for the future? As regards the rail lines, we have RITES already has a whole lot of data and reports, and we need to have what are the ongoing rail infra works in Odisha in terms of doubling new lines, 3rd line and 4th line works. Also, we can take up the east south dedicated freight corridor, which is slated to come up over the next decade. What is the alignment? How much of traffic is likely to move on that? That also need to be factored in. The future plans of rail infrastructure in Odisha awaiting sanction and plan. Rail freight terminals that are existing today and what are likely to come up in terms of private sidings, railway goods sheds, private freight trains, private freight terminals, PFTs, container freight station and ICDs, multi-modal logistics parks, and future growth plans in these areas. In ports, we're already having 3 big ports in Dhamra, Paradip, and Gopalpur. Then a whole lot of new smaller ports are in the horizon, 10 new ports. So we need to make an assessment of the existing capacity, cargo handled with commodity breakup, the originating and destination flows for both export import as well as coastal shipping, which is predominantly domestic traffic. Then we need to have future port expansion plans with regard to the same thing as in item 7. Then coming to the inland waterways transport capacity utilization, future expansion plans in Odisha. And in pipelines, we already have oil, gas, and little bit of slurry pipelines. What are the future plans? Many of the steel plants, JSW is coming up, JSPL is coming with slurry pipelines. So what are the plans and how much is the volume expected to move and what are the OD flows? All these need to be part of the white paper. Yes, please, next one. Jyoti, can we go to the next one? Jyoti, the third. Can you go to the third slide, please? Next one.
Yes, sir. I'm moving.
Jyoti, you should give it to Pradeep or someone else. You can't do both.
This is just the last one.
Okay.
Last one. No, just before that, there's one. Segment 3 is the specific recommendations. This is not is not the final thing. I mean, all this is, it can be improved upon. It's just an idea, and that is what we had communicated to RITES. Well, the recommendations would obviously give the infrastructure in respective transport modes that exist and what is required for the future. Industry-wise, mode-wise, evacuation of inbound and outbound traffic, keeping in consideration the least logistics costs. You can give specific suggestions regarding synergizing modes to reduce logistics costs, combination of road and rail, inland waterways and rail, road and inland waterways, all kinds of combination so that we can get the least cost in logistics. Implications on capacity due to interstate transit traffic. This is what Mr. Mahapatra had mentioned. There will be a lot of traffic moving across the state, not necessarily for consumption within the state or outbound traffic originating from the state, but transiting through it. So that will be having a bearing on the capacity. So RITES has already done such studies, and all that is required is to put that projections onto this. Can we go to the next one, please? So what are the imperatives? I've broadly categorized the items and what action needs to be taken by whom. So first of all, I was mentioning at the beginning that the specifications of any study is required to be quickly finalized and frozen so that the entity taking up the work knows in what parameters he has to work, and that should not be shifting from time to time. So the stakeholders, we'll take the inputs in the second session. We'll get a lot of inputs. Whatever needs to be factored into the study, we'll quickly incorporate that. And then we'll have to freeze the specs very quickly and then go ahead. RITES will have to do the scope. Mr. Shah is going to talk about it. Scope, methodology, and the deliverables of this study that will be given by RITES. The time frame is to be decided within what time we would expect the study to be completed. This both RITES and stakeholders have the equal responsibility for doing this. And then of course the MOU or the agreement between RITES and stakeholders as to get ahead and start the project and then finish it within the deadline. So you must work within the targets as per the MOU. And most importantly, the core team would have to be constituted so that we'll have a single window kind of a system where all information, data, everything can be exchanged. Ideally, it would be a state government body like the ITCO or something where we could get a lot of data and figures. The state government has already done a lot of studies. So if that could be made available, I think this can speed up this study, and we will look forward to that cooperation from the state government, which have already requested Mr. Hemant Sharma about. So that's it. Thank you. I'll now request Mr. Shah to make his presentation.
Sir, before that, I just Mr. BK Das, Director of Production. He has just joined from Nalco.
Mr. Das, welcome on board.
Welcome, sir. Sir, your audio, we can hear you.
We can't hear you.
Mr. Das, good afternoon.
Can you hear us, Mr. Das?
I think he's
Okay. Okay, let him set it right. Then you can have. I thought, Mr.
Naik.
Hello. Let me talk to him.
In the meantime, sir, Ajay sir, Mr. Ranjan Naik, he's from JSW.
yeah. He was,
CEO from JSW. He has a meeting, a ministry meeting. He requested that if we allow him to give his view now. So,
okay. Shah, just a little bit, if you don't mind, we can squeeze in because a lot of people have got engagements. I'm sure you too.
No, Mr. Shah should also hear everyone and then give his presentation.
Everybody has engagement, sir. Of course.
Yeah. Mr. Ranjan Naik.
Yeah, good morning
Yeah.
to all of you. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Behra.
Welcome, Mr. Naik.
So as I was telling in the morning, sir, I have got another meeting with the MOF to give the presentation on our proposed steel plant at Paradip. That is coming with the capacity of 13 million ton, which will eventually will be increased up to 25 million ton. And incidentally, in last meeting, the panel, the EC committee, MOF committee, they specifically asked that they are not interested for the technology, for the all other things, that they're very sure. They're only interested how you are going to move your material in and outside of the steel plant. The logistics part they wanted to understand. So coincidentally, so in the next half an hour, that presentation I'm going to give them. So with the backdrop of Odisha being a manufacturing hub, I don't want to get into those things because it will be a simple repetition. What I see, sir, I must tell the panelists that we had the strategy meet at JSW Group just a couple of weeks back. 2 days outside of Mumbai, we sat all of our top management along with the board and with the BCG. And out of 2 days, and we made a roadmap for our steel vision that we want to go from 25 million ton currently to 75 million ton by 2030. Out of 2 days, we only discussed about the logistics. 2 days out of 1.5 days, we are very worried about the logistics. How we are going to move our iron ore from Odisha, from different parts of India, whether we need to import, because whether the logistics can take the load of the requirement. So we are we are having sleepless nights on this logic. So this is very, very important for us. So if we look at, sir, we have taken 4 mines in Odisha and we'll be participating more number of mines in the auction, and a lot of industry, industry players will participate, will function. So one major problem in the mining area is not the rail is there, road is there. What is the last mile connectivity from railway sidings to the mines? How we are going to connect? Who is going to connect? The point is not the finance. The point is who is going to take these load to the connecting the mines to the nearest sidings. That is one more very, very important thing. We have been working with the government, with the state government, DMF, and the DMF is very, very interested to do these kind of initiatives, like laying a pipe conveyor from different mines to the sidings, or developing the roads, the internal roads, because there are new mines are coming of huge mines. Then the few other things, about, of course, somebody mentioned about our pipeline, slurry pipeline. We have been working very hard on that pipeline because because that is the, we think it's not about the cost, it's about the material, how we move so much of 100 million tons of iron ore from Badbil Joda area in next 5 years time. So we have been working on the very consciously, we have been working on the slurry pipeline along with the railway, of course. So, so these are the few important things which need to look at, sir. And the fourth important thing is the digitalization. So from our little experience in Odisha, we have been working, investing hugely on digitalization only in logistics. So we don't want to, mining means logistics actually. So what do we understand? How we move? So we have been investing very hugely in digitalization. Trace, track. How do you track each truck of our iron ore, each wagon of our iron ore, where it is going, where it is reaching, the whole set of information. So that we have been investing, and the state government, we have been taking guidance from the state government from time to time. So digitalization is a big area where we must look at this. Then Mr. Mahapatra was talking about sustainability. So in that we have to think of use of LNG, how we are going to invest in LNG infrastructure, because Dhamra steel area. Then JSW as an organization on the deployment of electric vehicles, charging stations, so to move iron ore from our mines to the sidings. So sustainability is another area. So these 5 things, if we can cover up, then of course the scope has been well defined by other members. So then the last but not the least, always I'm a fascination personally about the China. So we don't have to go beyond, if you look at China and try to understand few things and learn from them, because China has been successfully moving 10 times of the iron ore which we are consuming now, or 3 billion tons of coal, how they are moving, how they are, logistically so efficient. So if RITES can bring some learnings from Chinese, China, that would be great. So with this, I'm expecting, sir, expecting this study to be this is of utmost importance to us actually. Personally, it's not a theoretical, coffee table book. It's our lifeline actually. So in whatever way JSW and Odisha team can engage with the ICC and RITES, we'll be happy to do that. And incidentally, RITES has been commissioned by us to do a study on the railway infrastructure. So some of those learnings can also come here. So we are there to support this study in whatever way. All of you suggest, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Naik, for your support, and I'm sure we'll be interacting more in the future in the days to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, sir.
With that, I will now request Mr. Shah, kindly.
Sir, Mr. BK Das is now back online, sir.
Okay,
He has a
quite a long time. Mr. Shah, please carry on.
Thank you, sir. Please share my PowerPoint.
Yeah, just.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is my privilege that I am here to share my experience on behalf of RITES. What is the need of comprehensive study on transport logistics in Odisha? Whatever the discussions was going on, sir, that was an excellent step. I would like to some modifications will suggest. In earlier days, the term of reference and the scope was discussed, and it has been sent to you in the different manner. And this is the studies part, which is in various and extensive mode. So that will have to compile after all the discussions will be taken place, so that the comprehensive new term of reference would be prepared with discussions of all the stakeholders. And it is the right things that the model of China and modeling and simulation technology to be used for studies this white paper. That will be more meaningful, sir. So there is need to revise ahead. But right now, what is the strategy and all these parameters on which right should do this study? I would like to focus on this only at the right now. Next, why this study is required, sir? The state accounts for countries 96% chromite, 92% nickels, bauxite, iron ore. It shows that we have already told and we have already discussed that there is a rich belt of mines. So this study is required by keeping in focus of the logistic requirement and what is the current scenario of logistic and what would be the future scenario of the logistics. To find out transportation and infrastructure requirement to meet the demand. There is a concept and there is a very perfectly thumb rule that demand should not be ahead of infrastructure. It is only infrastructure which should be ahead of demand. And the one speaker was rightly told that the 60, 66, 33, 1/3, 2/3, that is perfectly right. The demand should not be ahead, infrastructure should be ahead. This study is required for the gap assessment to find out what is the requirement. Reduction in logistic cost, we have already discussed so many speakers. Right now, this cost is GDP is 13% of logistic cost, which is very high. It should be 5 to 6% in the GDP so that the cost of product should be minimized and our export from India to the other countries should be higher up. This target is keeping in the view of that studies. Industrial development is 36% of a state's GVA in comparison to 26% of all India. It is also a very alarming situations for the Odisha that the need of logistic to be reviewed and to be assessed what is the requirement and what should be done in future. Next. Average budget allotment in railway has invested huge capital expenditure in comparison to the previous one. That to 2009-14 we were 838 crore. Right now it is after 14 to 19 it is a 4518 crore. Annual average rate of industrial sector during last 9 years is 5.76% as against 3.97% of India. Same current unit basic price of railway transportation is per ton per kilometer is 0 point something, while road is 2.82. That is also alarming situations for the reduction of cost in logistics. The what model should be, what mode should be adopted. Next. This was the term of reference we were already discussed in the previous days. And I think we will have to go beyond this term of reference, including modeling and simulation, China model, and all the details and technologies should be incorporated so that the term of reference should be get more and more wide and more meaningful for the keeping the demand of the 20 years, 10 years of the from the today. So this is term of reference, but it needs to be revised, sir. Next. Next. Yes, this is the time approach and methodology, how the study will be taking place in the different segment. Sector expertise, we have economist and road, rail, and waterways. These sectors, the mainly which is going on in the country. Rights have all these sectors expertise seated in the field and this office. They will coordinate and they will go to the field and do this work. Expert in diverse functions. There are so many experts available in rights at the different verticals. They will be used for conducting such type of a study. Second thing is I would like to credible and implementable advice would like to cover up so that the studies suggest that the implementation parts of the logistic infrastructure creation would be in the right form and the empirical form, not in the theoretical form. This methodology, whatsoever will we are using that is tested and a standard methodology because we have conducted so many studies and that has been fulfilled in the right spirit of the demand and scopes. The methodology we will be using in this study will be primary survey in the field, in the district wise, where the maximum industries are located. The primary survey will be taken place in the field. Field investigations will be taken place. Interaction with the stakeholder whatsoever the service provider and what a stakeholder is available, that will be taken into care for finding out what is the demand and what is the assessment of infrastructure and would be required for the further. Review of secondary materials rights. I have so many studies conducted in these sectors that studies will be taken into consideration for the secondary desk study, and this will be incorporated along with the primary. OD analysis and future expansion in terms in land and waterways, pipelines, whatsoever the basic infrastructure and logistics has been emerged in the country, their contribution and their usability will be taken into consideration of a study. Next. Shortfall in infrastructure existing and planned in related to projected volume of traffic. A strategy and approach to bridge the gaps. Identifications. That is outcome of a study. Ultimately, what will we get for this study by spending 3 months? What would you like to get it? So that is the shortfall in infrastructure existing and planned in relation to projected volume of traffic. A strategy and approach to bridge the gaps. An RP, a study of Indian Railway National Rail Plan, that is meeting the demand of 2050 to create the infrastructure by 2030. So that bridging the gaps, that technology, that GIS mapping should be incorporated, and it will be used on the software basis. The software cost itself 50 lakhs. So that will be taken into consideration that depending upon the revised TOR. Identification of missing links in multi-modes of transport. Every mode has a different merit and demerit. How this link will be established to cut down the cost of logistics so that the product cost should not be high up and we should be competitive. A strategy and approach required to optimize unit cost of transport. Unit cost of transport is very higher in road sector rather than the rail or waterway sector. That approach and study will be taken into consideration to cut down the cost. We will focus the third, fourth, and fifth party logistics. There are so many logistics service providers that will be taken into consideration for find out the logistic minimize logistic cost. Established mathematical models for transportation and routing. Associates logistic activities with other business activities will be taken also in the study part. Next. Deliverables and timeline, we have suggested at the present TOR that the 90 days would be good enough. But again, I would like to repeat that it depends upon the revised TOR whether we are expanding or we are focusing and concentrating on the existing one. This is as per existing one, whatever we have submitted, that is along with you. So inception report will, after allotting of letter of award, that is 15 days. Draft report will submitted within 60 days and final report will be in 90 days, depending upon the feedback from the stakeholders. Next. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Shah. So you put it very, very succinctly and very quickly, but then yes, you're right. Very important is that we need to factor in all the changes. If there are any specific changes, I think we'll get further inputs from the technical session. I would now like to request Mr. Santosh Mahapatra to kindly chair the second session, and thereafter we'll take the question and answer. I hope, Mr. Saha, you are not having any engagement. You can stay on.
No, little bit, sir, after 1 o'clock, but I will be available, sir.
Yeah, please. There will be some questions coming. So
yeah.
Yes,
I will be.
Sir, Mahapatra sir, kindly.
Ajay Babu, you are already conducting it well. Why don't you continue?
That was there in the agenda. So
Santosh, you can't. you set the ball rolling. So you have to.
Let me see. I think some of the participants of the session have already participated, Mr.
Mr. Ashutosh. Yeah, Mr. Ashutosh.
Oh, you are back, Mr. Gautam. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Good afternoon once again to all. And in case I am provided the slot of 5 minutes, then I would be grateful.
Yeah, please take your time. Take your time. You are very important to us.
No, it's all right. In fact, though I may not be able to contribute much to this August gathering. So should I start with your permission?
Yes, please do. Please do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Chairman Mr. Pani and other distinguished participants over here. It is my privilege that I am being provided some of the time to share my current department, where we can help the state of Odisha, or we can work with the state of Odisha. And, it is everyone's duty to work for the country. So basically, I would like to share one thing that in IWAI, as you are aware, to start with, I would be informing about the initial national waterways, which were initially 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 belongs to Odisha, the combination of Brahmani and Mahanadi river. 4 is basically combination of your Krishna and Godavari, and 3 is situated in Kerala. 2 is mighty Brahmaputra, which is around 900 kilometers from entering into Assam and then going to Bangladesh. So that is around 900 kilometers. And recently we have been with the Honorable Minister at Jorhat and Dibrugarh for the boat accident, which was a very severe boat accident and very unfortunate. And 1 is National Waterway, 1 is our Ganga, and in which we are basically National Waterway 1 is from Allahabad to Haldia, which is around 1600 kilometers. And out of that, from Varanasi to Haldia, a World Bank project is also being undertaken by IWAI, and the progress of that is called Jal Marg Vikas Project, JMVP, and that is basically around 42% progress is there. And we have time up to December 2023, in which we have already constructed 3 multi-modal terminals. I am just basically sharing the developmental works which have been carried out, so that on the similar lines, if required, we may also think of on NW5 also. So multi-modal terminals at Varanasi already inaugurated by the Honorable PM, at Sahibganj already inaugurated by the Honorable PM. Sahibganj is basically meant for Nepal. Varanasi is also basically meant for hinterland of UP and other areas. And Kalu Ghat is also a place near Patna, which is also being crystallized for the cargo, future cargo from Nepal. Similarly, we are developing a very special project of navigational lock under this Jal Marg Vikas project at Farakka, where old navigational lock is in a dilapidated condition, and we are developing that. And some of the fairway development dredging contracts are also being done, and assured depth contracts are also being done. Some of the multi-modal logistics park are also being planned by IWAI in consultation with the National Highways Authority of India. On NW2, we are. हाँ, मैं अभी बात करता हूँ. Good morning, Selva साहब. मैं अभी बात करता हूँ. So we are also doing some of the works on NW2 Brahmaputra, where the Bhutan cargo from Bhutan will be taken care of. And we have undertaken certain agreements with Bangladesh also, Indo-Bangladesh protocol route, where we are basically strategically connecting NW1, that is Haldia, to northeastern region, and Mizoram, Tripura, Assam, Lower Assam, So all those areas will also get connected through Bangladesh Padma River. And dredging, we have 2 contracts in dredging in Bangladesh, where the assured depth of 2.5 meters are being planned. So with this general background of IWAI, now I am coming to NW5. I am told that basically I have heard some of the discussions that because of the mineral rich area and where the steel has got yesterday the chairman of ICC basically informed me that steel needs 1:5 traffic, and as someone was also telling that aluminium is also 1:20. So basically for that definitely inland water transport becomes very important, and in case we are able to collectively work together with the help of the state government, then we should definitely be successful. And as far as NW5 is concerned, I got some details. Basically, around 600 kilometer of national waterway, 600 kilometers of Brahmani, Kharsua, and Mahanadi rivers are being declared as national waterway in Odisha. And we have Dhamra and Paradip ports, very important ports, which are basically connecting to these areas. And a lot of industries, though I'm not from that place, but I know the area a little bit. So a lot of industries are there. Some of your very reputed consultants are also working for IWAI, those who hail from Orissa. And they are also very much conversant with the issues related to how we can reduce the logistics cost and all. So basically, and moreover, we have our regional office at Vijayawada also, who controls this NW5. And we definitely would like to see that the viable areas where from Talcher to Mangal Gadi and connecting Mangal Gadi to Dhamra and Mangal Gadi to Paradip. So the industries between Talcher to Mangal Gadi, they can utilize this waterway in case some of the challenges which are existing related to draft, related to some of the structures which are required to be constructed because of the morphological requirements, because of the other requirements like speed of the water. In some of these stretches, the water speed in 4 to 5 months in a year has to be controlled to have a stabilized movement of the vessels. Some steep slopes are also there. So some of the engineering challenges are also there, which are already been identified by the IWAI. And I am told that because of the existence of very cash-rich industries, which are very much interested in reaching Dhamra and Paradip port with low logistics cost, provided some of the engineering challenges are overcome and facilities are provided to them. So with this understanding and the potential of developing these areas, where as I was hearing in some of the presentation of Mr. Saha and Mr. Behra, that the roll and rails are overloaded over here, and in some of the I have also heard that some of the difficulties are also being faced. Mr. Mahapatra was telling that railways are basically they are facing some of the problems from other modes, railways and roads. And since I know the roads very well, because I am basically a man who has been traveling on the roads itself right from the beginning. So I know roads more than the rivers right now, because I have come to know the rivers for a few months only. So basically, because the roads, the increasing problems, the toll rates, the per kilometer cost, the uncertainty, the other law and order issues on roads, and other uncertainties, you can get stopped at any point, and congestion. So all those issues, railways, other you can have the non-availability of rakes, the completion of loading of rake, because railway needs a lot of it cannot move in piecemeal. So you need, to my understanding, you need at least 3,000 metric ton to start with for per rake, or 2,500 metric ton per rake. So and door to door, last mile connectivity, all those issues are there, and transshipment cost with us. Even then, we are environmental friendly. We are basically supplementary to road and railway, rail transport. And in case our project gets viable, then we can think of mutually taking care of all the policy decisions, and with the help of the state government, we can contribute collaboratively. With this, I think I may finally request to the representative of the state government over here, and ICC chairman also, to impress upon the important stakeholders. If I may also try to come to visit Vijayawada as well as Bhubaneswar during my next visit, and try to meet the respective officers of the departments of commerce and transport and inland water transport, so that in case, in view of the internal rate of return, economic internal rate of return of the project, though there are certain engineering challenges for which the engineering solutions are also available, and we can find out that those things can be explored on public-private partnership mode. And मैं अभी आया बस, अभी 2 मिनट में पहुंचता हूँ, public private partnership mode. So basically with this, I think I thank all of you, and especially Mr. Pani, to invite me over here and to share IWAI's vision nationwide, as well as specific to Odisha. And with this, I may stop over here and request coordinator and moderator to move ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gautam. But I'm not going to spare you so easily. Just one more minute, please. A few years back, I was myself signatory to an MOU on behalf of Dhamra Port with Paradip Port and IDCO of Odisha government and National Waterway Authority, that we would form a company to set up the terminal. So the cost of terminal will be borne by this company. Later on, the Adanis took over Dhamra Port, and they said, we ourselves can also invest in the terminals. But it was already agreed at that time that the fairway will be developed by the Waterway Authority. That cannot be done through PPP mode. Now, is there a change in that position?
No, we can develop the fairway, but in case, because now the government of India has already explored all possibilities, that in case any project is viable on public-private partnership, then we should try to give it on PPP mode. In case it is not viable on PPP mode, then gradually with our own system, we will try to develop it. But some of the engineering challenges which are involved in it, those are major challenges. And but simultaneously, potential is also very big. So in case, and we have recently private jetty policy where we are providing, we are allowing private entities to develop the jetty, and the benefits involve the quick evacuation of ports, the decongestion to port area easily through the riverine movement, and there may be exit and entry to the port may be increased with the help of having more evacuation places. So in case the potential is there, in case it is viable on PPP mode, we can go with PPP mode. In case it is not viable, we can have a viability gap funding or on different mode. In case it is not at all viable, then we can go with our own system, own grants, or with the help of the specific piecemeal help of the industries over there. But I will request government of Odisha to just try to get a preliminary feasibility of this area developed, and then just see whether we can explore any combination out of it.
Yeah, Mr. Gautam, I will not bother you so much, but I will request you to go back and have a look at it. The feasibility study is done. I'll tell you how it is.
Sir, I will again join with you because
you have a problem.
I am being called over there.
Okay,
so I will again join within 10 minutes to you.
Yeah, because
then I will discuss with you in detail.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gautam. I would like to just say that please tell us when you are coming next to Bhubaneswar. We will have a detailed meeting with you and all other stakeholders.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. I will join again if possible.
Okay.
And then I will let. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice of you.
Now we had Mr. BK Das to join us. Has he joined us?
No, sir. Actually, he is still in a meeting that going on. So
okay. Has Mr. Manish Kharbanda joined us?
From JSPL, actually, Manish Kharbanda stuck up in something. Mr. Bibhu Mishra is there from JSPL. So
would Mr. Bibhu Mishra like to give his feedback on this study that we are undertaking? Are you here, Mr. Mishra?
Yes, sir, I'm there.
So please, we want to hear you.
Sir, as you know, we would be expanding Angul capacity to almost 25.2 million ton from 6 million ton in next 9 years. And the first phase of expansion would be scheduled to be commissioned by 2023, sir. And so we are actually would be one of the most serious one of the challenges, if you see for the expansion, the most of it would come from logistics only, given the status today. Though iron ore, we are planning to have 2 slurry pipelines, but otherwise moving other raw material and then the finished product would be a huge challenge. So I would just request that all these, whenever the state, rights take up this study, they should actually, as you said, they have been taking, but I just wanted to ensure that they should take all projected expansion projects also into account while this. And this NW5 is really exciting, sir. And once it comes to Talcher, then we will also benefit from it. So I think we should have a very strong on the NW5 thing as well. That is what emphasis on NW5 as well. Thank you.
That it's when it is connected with Talcher, right?
Yes, sir. Sir, even Kalinganagar, it is halfway through.
Yeah.
So for us also, even once it comes up to Kalinganagar also, we are interested. That would also help us because it is almost like halfway through.
Thank you, Mr. Mishra. Do we have Mr. Pradeep Bal here?
Yes, sir. Mr. Pradeep Bal is here, sir.
I think we will need your feedback and your comments and your inputs on this. Mr. Bal.
Pradeep ji?
Yeah, I am already listening what are the discussion going on very carefully. I am audible?
Yeah,
Mr.
sure.
Jyoti? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
I think good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon to Mr. Mahapatra, who is leading the session. I think before I start, 2-3 points I would like to mention at the outset. I think at the outset, I want to thank ICC for initiating this study. I think that this is a good study which will not only impact the steel industry, also the other industries, including mining sector in Odisha. Therefore, this is a good study where we'll participate in the study and will fully cooperate with the study in whatever manner we want to do. The second point, Mr. Jyoti, you can put up my 2 slides in the meantime because we are
Yes,
joining to.
Yeah. Pradeep, can you share?
Second point, this study, I want to maybe mention certain things. It has to be very long term, maybe not only focusing upon the current issues, what we are doing, but it should be encompassing 10 years, at least 10 to 15 years aspect. Yeah, these are the 2-3 points we want to highlight before I come to the slide here. From Tata Steel perspective, we have got large presence in Odisha in terms of mining, in terms of steel, in both ways, in terms of our dependency on the ports also. And we are also, after the acquisition of Bhushan Steel in Angul, that our capacity has also gone up significantly. And next 2-3 years, maybe 3 years, or Kalinganagar expansion also happening from 3 million to 8 million ton. That will entail the increase in the transportation of the raw materials as well as the finished goods, which is going from Kalinganagar to various parts of India and for export. We have also a large stake engagement with our various stakeholders in Odisha, not only in our the supplier, vendors, also our community engagement at various parts of Odisha, be it Kalinganagar, be it our mining presence in Joda, Khandband, and also in the Sukinda region. Therefore, this study is very critical for Tata Steel also. One more point would be the Odisha being what we have discussed till now, one of the major producers of iron ore, bauxite, the other minerals, and it has got connect with other states like Jharkhand, or Chhattisgarh. From steel perspective, most of the steel production happens in this region, Jharkhand, Odisha, and Chhattisgarh. But our consumption centers located across India. Therefore, all the steel plants are nearer to mines where raw materials are available, particularly iron ore. But the steel has to be transported to various parts of India. Therefore, the logistic infrastructure is becoming more and more critical. You can go to next slide. We'll little bit detail upon there are 4 aspects I want to touch upon briefly, maybe 2-3 minutes. The aspect number 1 is the cost, where I can give you example. The cost of transportation of coal from Australia to Paradip, such a long distance coming by ships, it costs around $12 per us. Whereas the material which is going from Kalinganagar to Chennai or Bombay is cost us around $40. If you see distance wise, it may be 1/10 or less than 1/10. So that is a large difference in the cost of logistics, particularly the inland cost of logistics. Therefore, when we are designing the study through rides, these aspects also should be kept in mind. That is point number 1. The point number 2, which is future ready logistics, which is mentioned, I was touching upon in the first slide, when we are doing the study, it should encompass the what is emerging trends in the logistics, and what is our growth plan. What Mr. Ajay Bera also talking about, Mr. Ranjan Naik also touched upon. Since we will be growing very fast in our both in mining and steel, in other areas also, the study should encompass what is happening in next 10 years, 15 years, so that we build our capability in such manner that we don't face the bottleneck in going forward. On the external benchmarking, which is point number 3, we touched upon, somebody talked about the China. The example, because China produces from steel perspective, say we are producing 1/10 of China. Therefore, the logistic movement, what happens China and India, where we are targeting 300 million ton of steel, maybe 2030, maybe it will be little more than 2030. We should be prepared for that. Therefore, while we are designing our study and building the specific inputs to the study, we should bring in this aspect of the benchmarking. What other countries do, what Australia does or what China does. Australia does very well in the mining sector, in the logistic area. Similarly, China also does very well in this sector. Some of the aspects we can learn from them and build our capability here. The fourth aspect, which has been mentioned here, some of the disrupting technology aspects. Somebody talked about the digital technology, how it is impacting our logistic flow, particularly planning, scheduling of the various logistics infra. So those things also has to be kept in mind while you are doing the study. The other part which you touched upon is the sustainability. Although we discussed briefly, Mr. Mahapatra also touched upon this in his speech. Mr. Pani also touched upon this in the initial speech. While you are designing the specific logistics, this sustainability aspect also has to play an important role. Therefore, inland waterways, which is coming, maybe, although it is very nascent stage, going forward in Odisha also, the NW5 particularly will play an important role in our particularly Brahmani and Mahanadi, which is connecting Kalinganagar and those regions. There, the material flow from Paradip and Dhamra can, because we import large quantity of raw material, particularly the coal and limestone. Coal is coming from Australia, primarily Australia, Russia, and other countries, while limestone is coming from Middle East. These materials can leverage the waterways, where it is coming from Paradip, Dhamra to our steel plants. Similarly, although it is taking time, but we have to keep in mind what are the things which is needed to be done in this area. And at the end, this is the last slide. At the end, we'll be engaging with rights. I think maybe Mr. Jyoti will be engaging separately on the rights with respect to the exact what are the scope and some of the practical items which need to be part of the study. That will be, maybe we'll separately engage with you on the rights. That's all from our side, and we are fully with the ICC to support this study, and this will be a very good document for all the industry and the mining sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bal. Now you have such a huge presence in Odisha at Angul and at Kalinganagar, and of course the mining and I think and you're building a port also at Subarnarekha. So you should be a very active participant in this study. And thank you very much for joining us today. May I request Mr. Rajesh Roy Chaudhary? He has been with us in most of the workshops and meetings that we have taken on this subject.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. And many thanks to ICC for giving me the opportunity to speak to the auspicious guests here. I would say I am from the engineering background, and most of us are from the members are from the mining and the heavy industry background. So my presentation or my points would be more directly onto the transport planning and the network that we have, existing network that we have in the state, and what can be the future or the future what is coming up in the near future, the road network or the inland waterways which we have been discussing, which are coming up. I will be presenting through my presentation. I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, very good. So this is the, most of us has spoken about the minerals available in the state and the port areas which is available. The major port, as you see, is the Paradip, Dhamra and Gopalpur. And to be very honest, there are a lot of roads which also connects Paradip and Dhamra, if not Gopalpur. But in this presentation also, I'll show you how the other ports can also be connected and what is the road network that can be developed in the state, which will cater to the port connectivity, intra and interstate movement also. So I have marked in the yellow mark you can see the national highways which is present. So in the state we have around 4,800 kilometers of national highway, which is spread throughout the state, and most of them being concentrated in the central part near the Angul area, Talcher, Keonjhar, Sundargarh, Sambalpur, and even the coastal area in the Paradip, Cuttack, and Bhubaneswar to Puri also. So you can see the blue lines; these are the state highways. So this would be a thought for I know RITES is the most competent organization to give their transport planning or the way forward. But this is just a thought how we can go ahead of combining most of the state highways as well as the national highways together to make it into an economic corridors or kind of defined corridors that can be done. So I have also marked the railway corridors which is available, but I will speak mostly on the road sector and the inland waterway sector. So this is first I'm showing you the map of national highway, national waterway 5, which is from Talcher, Dhamra and Paradip. So you can see the red mark. This is a stretch of 371 kilometers on Brahmani River as well as Kharaswa River. As a member technical IWI was also present during the presentation in the early time, and he has also mentioned, and personally I have spoken to him, he is very keen on developing these two areas because this will connect to the mining area and the industries area of Odisha to Paradip and Dhamra together. So this would be a 371 kilometer length, and the WAPCOS has already done a feasibility report on this, which says if we only do this part of the this riverian ports and the developments on this river, Brahmani and Kharaswa can be developed with an investment of around 5,000 crore, if I'm not wrong. I followed some of the reports which was already there. And this gives an IRR of around 30% IRR, which is very much attractive for the private partnership PPP model or a BOOT model can be developed on this stretch. And even the industries which are already there on the in the Talcher area and the Dubri area, they can also develop their own ports, and the state government and this central government can form a modality or kind of a policy decision in which how this infrastructure can be shared between different stakeholders, keeping into the ownership of the state, and operational ownership can be given to the PPP operators also. The next I will go to the so these are the areas where we have the most of our mines and our mineral rich district, and the food parks also. So we are leaving away the service sector in our concept. So not only the industries has to be connected, but the mining has to be connected, but even the food sector, food parks, industrial parks, multimodal parks also has to be developed for movement of traffic in the year. And even in Andhra also, they have started this fishery harbors also. So Odisha also is doing a lot of things on the fishery. So this can be also, we can also think of how the fishing fraternity of the state, which contributes to the export of Odisha, can also be benefited through this transport system. So this is the spoken hub system of transportation or the multimodal transport hubs. As member technical IWA has also mentioned, they have done similar facility in Haldia. In fact, we have been their consultant for last 2.5 years in the Haldia multimodal transport hub. And to be very honest, IW has been very active and very aggressive in putting up this kind of facilities both in Haldia and Farakka. Farakka, they are also they have come up with the navigation lock. The India's largest wet navigation lock is being built in Farakka. So with the recent policy of Government of India and Honorable Prime Minister announcing the new act for inland waterways, I hope Odisha can also pitch in some of this multimodal hubs also in the state with the private partnerships in the state. And now I will showcase some of the coastal roads which are also in pipeline. This will help RITES to prepare their futuristic plan. So this is one 240-kilometer road which is coming up. This is a coastal road which is coming up from Digha to Tangi. So this is actually connecting all the, if you see, this will connect all the ports, all the major ports, starting from Dhamra, Paradip, and even Gopalpur also through Tangi. This is another important road. These are all industrial road, but I have tried to put it in such a way a few of the state roads and national highway has been brought together, so that the idea is to create few dedicated corridors in this state, which will help the economic growth, also ease of transportation of the finished good as well as the raw material in the state. So this is one Ranchi. You can see, as Mr. Paul was also mentioning, they have a lot of industrial or mining operations to Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh. So this is one of the road, NS 53B, which is under construction also. Few of the links are with NHA right now. This will connect Ranchi, Raulkela, Deoghar, Angul, Jaspur, and eventually at Paradip. So I'll show you the next one. So this is NS16, which is the heart of the lifeline of Odisha, which connects Calcutta and Chennai. So, and apart from this, I'll show you, this is Raipur Sambalpur. In fact, this has also been declared as one of the economic corridor, and the last mile connectivity from Cuttack to Nuagaon is in progress as of now by the ministry. And this is mostly a greenfield project at 110 kilometers. And from Sambalpur to Angul, Sambalpur to Cuttack, it is around 260 kilometers in length. So this is another very interesting project of the state, which can be coordinated or which can be also taken into consideration while preparing this white paper document. This is the Biju Expressway, which starts from Raulkela to Sambalpur, Bargarh, Balangir. In fact, it goes to Kalandi, Navrangpur, down to Jaipur, Koraput, Raigada, Gajpati Nagar, and ends in Ganjam, or ends in Gopalpur. So this can form one of the ring economy road, which is kind of a ring which connects National Highway at Raulkela, which is 53A, and it also connects NH16 at Gopalpur. So Odisha government, this is a combination of some state roads, state highways as well as national highways. So this would be very interesting if this can be considered during the study also. And government of Odisha is also developing part of this road in piecemeal, which can be converted into an economic corridor. So I can show you the total Biju Express. You can see it is almost going to down to south and then coming to the east from west. So you can see this green line. So this Badbil Keunjhar, this is already developed from Dhamra. This Badrak to Dhamra is also under construction. These are few of the important roads. This is another road. This is a economic corridor being developed by NHI again. This is from Raipur to Vizag. This will not connect much of the main mining area or the coal areas, but definitely the Koraput area where we have a lot of bauxite mining and alumina plant. So this is a connectivity of around, this is a road of around 464 kilometer. But in Odisha, we have around 240 kilometers in Navranpur and Koraput district. So my suggestion to the committee and the team also to develop logistics hubs on this road, as the projected traffic on opening of this would be around 19,000 PCU, and eventually by 2025 we have a prediction of around 30,000 PCU on this road. So majorly for the intrastate and the interstate movement of goods, so this would be one of the prime locations where we can have multimodal transport hubs or logistic parks on this road. So this is how the whole road network or the main economic corridor can be networked together to join all the major port areas as well as to our major industrial areas and the mining areas. So this is the whole Odisha road network. Well, there are a lot of road networks, but these are the main which can be converted into a economic corridor, or we can nomenclature as different roads also in our future plans or the white paper plan also. So point of discussion. So as we have already mentioned that the existing rail and road network has to be further developed for taking into the industrial growth as well as the economic growth. Identification and development of specialized infrastructure such as dedicated economic and freight corridors. Like I mentioned, all the corridors, all the networks can be converted into dedicated economic corridor or freight corridors. Identification of possible locations for development of mega food parks, industrial cluster along this dedicated freight corridors and economic corridors. State level policy to be formed, as Principal Secretary also mentioned, and even a few of our eminent delegates also mentioned, that logistic park has to be integrated to the Government of India logistic policy. So this has to be formed in this state, keeping into account the Government of India logistic policy also. And as we mentioned, the waterway network can be evolved in this state, which is also a major connectivity which will help us in ease out traffic from Talcher area to Paradip and Dhamra area. So this can be also discussed in a detailed way, and I hope member technical IWI will extend all his help to our team, to the state, to fasten this project in the near future. That's all. Thank you. Thanks all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Rai Chaudhary. It was very nice of you to show those Google Earth slides with various road and rail and waterway networks. That gives a lot of clarity. I would only add that, from a futuristic point of view, it's very nice that we have three ports, Dhamra, Paradip, and Gopalpur in north, middle, central, and south of Odisha. And I have been in both Paradip and Dhamra, so I will be impartial. But it's more logical to connect North Odisha with Dhamra, West Odisha with Paradip, and South Odisha with Gopalpur. And if we extend that logic, Jharkhand with Dhamra and Chhattisgarh with Paradip, and let's say Andhra with Gopalpur, although What may really happen because of the rail network is that Gopalpur may be better connected with Chhattisgarh than Paradip in future. But coming to the road network, which is very important, again, I would suggest that ideally roads should not be used for dry bulk cargo like mineral cargo. Iron ore should not move on road. As far as possible, they should move by rail. And we don't have waterways at this point of time anyway. But break bulk and backed cargo and containerized cargo should move by road. And this kind of movement will be more sustainable and also more cost effective, because containerized cargo is usually high value cargo where the cost of transportation per kilometer is not as much a factor as dry bulk cargo, which are relatively high volume, low value. And therefore they should go on rail. It's good for everybody. Thank you very much, Mr. Rai Chaudhary. In fact, we would need your support more and more as we proceed. Do we have Mr. Gautam back?
Sir, Dr. Ramprasad Panda is also here from NHI RO Odisha.
Yes.
I think he can give
we welcome Dr. Panda. You are very important to us. How come your name is at the end? Anyway, please, Mr. Panda, please come forward and share your thoughts and inputs.
Good afternoon to everybody, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, I was busy, so I had earlier also joined here, but left for some time. Then once again I joined. I have already listened to all these, most of the speakers, sir. It gives me an immense pleasure to be here amidst you all to be a special guest in the stakeholder consultation on this transportation logistic infrastructure of Odisha, sir. It is reiterated that transportation, warehousing and communication, three factors are most important in the logistic chain. To get a robust infrastructure in this sector is the key to achieving the rapid economic growth, sir. Although transportation is composed of many players, including transportation through roads, railways, waterways, airways, pipelines, etc., as well as development of handling facilities such as seaports, refueling depots, truck terminals, warehouse, bus stations, railway stations, and airports. NHI still plays a crucial role in development towards the transport logistic infrastructure in the state, though it is still costly, slightly costly. Some of the recent initiatives by NHI in Odisha, you can very well recognize that we have increased the construction of road network in recent years. You can, for example, in last year only, even with the Corona pandemic, we constructed near about 380 kilometers of 4/6 lane road with an investment of 5,000 crores. Second, request to state government recently to provide a land near Paradip for developing a multi-modal logistic park also, sir. That will have a railway line also. Then for increasing utility corridors, we have increased our 2 meter to 5 meter ROW facility to facilitate the private players on either side of a highway, subject to availability of land for slurry pipelines. Most of the private players are already benefited with this. The others also include, sir, the compatibility of bridges, particularly the ROBs, as well as Inland Waterway Authority of India, wherever it is passing through Inland Waterway Authority of India. Sir. As you all know, development of good road is always a prerequisite, not only for all-round development of the economy, but also to sustain the same. It is not one time. It is a continuous effort, sir. So the need of the hour is to have a world-class infrastructure which must include safe passage for everyone, including man, material, as well as animals. This could help quick dispersal of traffic to various destinations within the country. In addition to different ongoing projects are in Odisha, executed by NHI, and looking into the future demand, what today we are discussing, NHI further in the process of having DPR for a length of 1550 kilometers under Bharatmala, Economic Corridor and Coastal Highway. As Rai Chaudhary has already told some of the important projects, but I can still say there are few projects which are in pipeline. Maybe within 2 to 3 years, it will be come up in the field. Maybe 6 laning of Raipur Visakhapatnam road, that is 240 kilometers. 6/8 laning of Chandikhol Paradip road of 77 kilometers. 4 laning of Keonjhar Duguri section for a length of 85 kilometers. 6 laning of Capital Region Ring Road for a length of 111 kilometers. Then we are also having in pipeline 2/4 laning of coastal highway connecting almost all ports of Odisha for a length of 346 meters. Under port connectivity also we are having 2 ports connected, that is Dhamra and Gopalpur. That will come recently for Dhamra port as well as Gopalpur. Then for decongestion of basically the Talcher town, we have a Banarpal Godivan section for a length of 16 kilometers. We are also decongestion of Sambalpur ring road we are think of. Then to have a more spur, we are also planning to have a Cuttack to Paradip sections as a 4 lane, in addition to Chandikhol to Paradip of 8 lane. That will connect to NH 55 also. That is already work is going on. As these roads are in planning stage, I personally sought cooperation from other departments in rightly planning these projects, sir. Because if we plan as well as a railway plan, that should be a better to get the maximum benefit with minimum cost to logistics. I sincerely thank Odisha State Council of Indian Chamber of Commerce for giving me a chance to share my views while addressing the white paper on transport logistic infrastructure of Odisha. Thanking you, sir. If any query, then I will be answering.
Just one question to Mr. Panda. Do you make any assessment of the capacity already utilized of the existing roads before you go to a new project, new expansion of additional laning? What is the present load on the existing highways? Any assessment is being made?
Sir, we are having already the DPR consultants. We first see what is the present load and what is the future requirement. With that, we generally project. Otherwise, in general, there is a 5 to 7% increase in traffic, in addition to sudden requirement of the mining area as well as other industries. That we take care of. For that reason only, we are now planning 8 lane of Chandikhol Paradip, though it is not fulfilling. It may come after 3 to 4 years. Still, we are going for a 8 lane structure. Similarly, for coastal highway also, sir, it is only viable for 2 lane presently, but still we are going for a 4 lane. Because we think during construction also there are a lot of difficulties. So we should construct once as a 4 lane. So these are the things we are taking care of.
So RITES will be getting in touch with you for the study for this, what is the road related data?
Sir, no issue. It is the only, actually it is a platform, sir. It is welcome. Right.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Panda. We will be needing your support as we move on in this study. Incidentally, there was earlier a feasibility for Paradip Bhubaneswar direct connectivity. It was coming to a 80-kilometer road via Jagatsinghpur. I suppose that has been dropped, but that could be a direct connectivity to the industrial development from the airport of Bhubaneswar.
No, sir, we are having planning from Cuttack to Paradip, one more road.
Okay. So that would have...
Cuttack, Chandarpur, then this Paradip.
Yeah, I get it. Thank you very much. Do we have Mr. Upadhyay, SS Upadhyay?
Mr. Upadhyay, sir, he was there in the inaugural session,
Okay.
but he has some like he engaged in a meeting right now. So he said that if the meeting continues, after the meeting he will join back. So meantime, we can, sir, move ahead with like Mr. Satrujit Kumar is there from JSW.
Okay.
Mr. Ranjan Naik already he gave his views. Mr. Satrujit Kumar is the logistic head of JSW. If he wants to address something.
Okay.
Mr. Kumar, Mr. Satrujit Kumar, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Actually, myself, Amit Das, Actually, Mr. Satrajit Kumar had one emergency commitment from mine, so he has to leave just a few minutes back. Since this meeting was going on, so he couldn't update. So we would like to focus on some major areas. Like, first of all, I would like to thank all the jury members for giving us an opportunity to share our thoughts. And as you are aware that JSW, we are having a four mines in Orissa with the current capacity of 28 million ton per annum. And we have a plan to enhance it to 45 million ton per annum. Like we all are aware that major iron ore production is from Jora and Koida sector. So current issues that we are facing is there are 3-4 issues which we are majorly facing. Like we have already discussed regarding this road infrastructures, the poor road conditions, and then NH 520 restrictions, frequent restrictions. So what we feel, like in Joda sector, the connectivity part, the rail connectivity part is not a major concern. It's well connected to major railway sidings. But in Koila sector, the railway connectivity plays a vital role, because with this new iron ore policy, like after 20th March, there was a certain changes in railway policy where the time that we get after program is 1 day. Previously, we used to get it for 2 days, but currently we are getting for 1 day. So like we need to ensure that the material that we dispatch from mines, it has to reach the siding within 24 hours. With these road conditions, restrictions, it becomes a huge traffic. It becomes a challenge for us to ensure that the material reaches on time, or else we'll incur huge penalty like demurrage and other charges also. And at a time we operate 4-5 sidings at one time. So like what we feel, we should invest with some railway infrastructure under this PPE scheme, where the rail connectivity can be bought nearer to our mines. And the second option that we can also explore is, as our CEO said, regarding this digitalization. Like we are on the process of end-to-end digitalization, but there also this connectivity, this network connectivity plays a vital role. It's becoming a hiccup for us in our day-to-day operation, but still we are working on it. And we are trying how we'll resolve these issues. And within short period of time, we are adapting to these new technologies, this digitalization technology, where our entire process will be end-to-end process will be digitalized. And we are also working on this slurry pipeline projects. Our CEO has already briefed about this. So this is what we have to address.
Thank you, Mr. Das. Jyoti, has Mr. Gautam come back?
I think not yet, sir. He's still in the meeting. He's logged in.
Okay. So do I request Ajay Babu to sum up, or we have any other speaker?
I think we covered all, but unfortunately, Mr. Das, BK Das from NALCO is not able to join. He's still in that meeting. And his office said that he extensively prepared very good presentation, and he wanted to share, from NALCO side. But due to this union meeting and this thing, he's still stuck up there. So
we'll collect the presentation from him.
We'll collect from him.
Yes.
Now, so let's find out if Mr. Gautam can join in again.
Is he here?
Yeah.
We'd like to. We would like it if he can join. Why don't you talk to him if he can join us?
No, he has already said what he wanted. We can tell him. Now, I think Mr. Behra can do the sum up, and then
we can call it a day.
If there are any specific questions to the main person, I mean,
panelists or
rights,
speakers,
especially
yes.
For Mr. Shah, you are still there? He probably has left. Mr. Shah?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if there are any questions for Mr. Shah from all the panelists and people who are there, I would request that you can ask him.
Question pertaining to sir term of reference, because whatever we have discussed earlier before 4 or 5 months, that TOR was not in so detail, but it is very meaningful for all of us, for the country, for the everybody, that this wide spectrum of term of reference would be incorporated, and detail in-depth study is required. So in that scenario, whatever discussions has been taken place in early days, that is that's relevance is not appropriate in this
no,
seminar.
that broad structure is there. We'll have to add on basically some points.
The core terms of reference remains the same, but there'll be few additions, right?
But sir, if you are using simulation methodology and GIS mapping and China model, then we'll have to go into the depth of detail. And simulation and GIS mapping.
So that we can take a call,
software is
how much
lakhs rupees itself. That will be the costliest part, sir. This is my submission, nothing more than that.
Finally, we come to cost. Okay, let's know how much more it is, right? You can give us.
No,
you don't have to give it immediately. Let's.
No, I thought let us work out these levels, and then when we go to the next level where we need to really talk in terms of after we get the state government and everyone coming in, then then only we should go into all that kind of severe details, because the cost will go on escalating.
Yes, sir. You are well aware about that costing part, whatever you have taking into the consideration. That is very, very the bottom side of the studies. We have never conducted this.
Sir, can I make a suggestion, sir?
Study in such a amount. That is the credit goes to Behra, sir, that I have accepted, because there is peanuts and nothing. Nothing you well aware about that, sir.
I wanted to make a small suggestion, sir, since there are a whole lot of inputs, very, very valuable inputs from various corners.
That must
we can confine it to one page. Whatever suggestions are there, just in one page. And if Jyoti can be the contact point, and we can over the next 1 or 2 weeks collect these inputs as what is the stakeholders' expectation for this white paper, then we collect that and then finalize it, sir. Mahapadra sir, we can finalize that and then have rights on the board for the final terms of reference, sir.
Sure.
So I think, Mr. Behra, you're right. So we should keep 1 week. Jyoti or Sharmila, please make immediately send across to all the participants and sort of tell them that they have to give the points in one page or whatever the suggestions are there, which will affect the TOR, and that can be collated. So, but we should have a deadline.
Right.
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you. Then I would say that we should have we really thank everyone, and who's supposed to give the vote of thanks? Jyoti?
Ajay sir is going to summarize the whole process.
Summarize, right?
Summarize and
I need to say anymore. Everybody has been giving such valuable inputs and everybody has heard what everybody has said. So it would not be fair to again, waste time on repeating what has been said. But so much that we really value your inputs, and we'll continue to take your inputs over the next 2 weeks when we finalize this terms of reference, and we'll be in touch with rights. And that doesn't end there, and we must have one nodal person from every stakeholder who will be in touch. Rights will be getting in touch with them, with that person. From the state government side, from each of the industries, NALCO, JSW, JSPL, Tata Steel. So from time to time over the next 3 months, that they are indicating that the study will take about 3 months time. So they will be bothering that contact person from time to time, and through email exchanges and even maybe physically they can come over and take directly obtain data and other inputs, and so that we make a very meaningful white paper as per everybody's requirement. So with those words, I would like to thank you all for making this a very fruitful and meaningful discussion. And we look forward to having another one when the proper study starts. So thank
In
you
fact,
so much.
we will have a signing ceremony, so we'll have a deadline for that. And in that, we are we have discussed with the government that the chief secretary and the presence of the chief secretary and other secretaries, we will be signing it. And the paper, when it is presented, will be presented to chief minister. So this is what is the plan. So I would request everyone to give their inputs accordingly.
Thank you. So special thanks to all the delegates and Mahapatra sir and Dulal bhai. It's your initiative, and thanks to you both for making it such a good event.
Sir, Gautam sir joined. Sir, Gautam sir joined back.
Oh,
Okay.
Good. We'll have the last word from you. Mr. Gautam, have you joined us?
He's
Yes,
muted.
yes, I have joined.
Yeah,
Good afternoon once again.
We're just breaking for lunch. I mean, calling it a day and break for
No,
lunch.
that's fine.
But it's so good. No, my question remains, at one stage, the secretary shipping, Mr. Trivedi, was insisting that we start work on the fairway of the river. And what happened to that tempo? Suddenly, everything is quiet on the NW5 front. I of course left Paradip. I went to build a port in Kerala and lost touch with that. Could you tell us, please?
Actually, it is not very quiet. We have developed some jetties also, and some of the jetties are likely to be inaugurated by the earlier minister also. Now the new minister has joined, and we have proposed that inauguration of those jetties can be done.
Jetties on the
Yes,
NW5.
sorry. In fact, it is on NW4.
Not 5. Not 5. Yeah.
Not on 5.
No, what I would suggest, Mr. Gautam, this NW5 has actually 4 parts, right? One is Talcher to Jajpur or Mangal Gadi, what you said. Then Jajpur to Dhamra.
Yes.
Then Jajpur to Paradip.
Yes.
And then Dhamra to West Bengal, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That is how it's a national waterway.
Yes.
Now the Dhamra to West Bengal is not really a need-based. It is more historical than need-based. Historically, during the British days, there was a waterway. Today, the need for it is not so much there because there's a railway line, there are roads, and perhaps the cargo which moves along that is only agricultural cargo. You don't really need a very developed. We can keep it aside for some time. Now, Jajpur to Paradip is a very difficult stretch. There are national park and Vitarkanika sanctuary and so many things. That will also. But Jajpur to Dhamra is a highly doable. And Jajpur means Kalinganagar. You have Tata Steel there. You have so many other steel plants there. They all are importing coking coal from Australia, New Zealand, which is now coming by train. So you have something like a ready-made cargo of between 5 to 10 million ton easily available from day number 1. Now, for a waterway, you must have experienced in other places. 5 million ton is not a small amount, small volume. It's a very good volume to start with a small stretch. The only problem will be, as a principle, fairway, that is dredging of the river, should be done from budgetary assistance. The terminal and all other developments can be left to, there will be many private players willing to do it. Only the dredging and maintaining of the fairway, and you can recover it by way of some kind of toll from the barges to it over a period of time.
Right, sir. I will request that some of your official, or if I get exactly, I have noted it down. I get exactly in form of a WhatsApp message
Okay.
that what is the stretch which is likely to be taken up as a
Okay,
phase
okay,
1 in which
okay.
dredging is required.
Yeah.
Then I will get connected with my regional officer
Yeah.
at Bhubaneswar, and then I will get the report.
Yeah.
And after confirmation of that report, I will
Yeah.
initiate the proposal for this kind of development
Yeah.
under budgetary head. And in case budget is not there, then I will try to reappropriate it from somewhere so that things are started. But surely I can understand the need of the hour, and after having discussed over here, and I am thankful that because this is the way we can get feedback from the local officials and local representatives of the industry over there. So definitely, sir, and I will definitely.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Karan.
Would try to come as early as possible to Bhubaneswar and see the and visit the Jagannath temple also.
Sure, sure. You'll be our guest.
And would like to definitely do whatever is needful at the earliest.
Sure, sure. Thank you very much, Mr.
Note sheet for you, for as Mr. Santosh Mahapatra has mentioned, I'll prepare that note sheet for you.
Yeah, please do, Mr. Rai
Mr.
Chaudhary.
KK Sahu has been posted in Bhubaneswar now from Calcutta. So from in IWA office. So
Mr. Sahu is in charge of Bhubaneswar office.
Correct, sir.
And our Bhubaneswar office is an independent office, whereas right now we don't have the officer, but since a stopgap arrangement is there, so I will ask Sahu also to provide these details, but I may need a WhatsApp message so that I may also not forget. And the stretch which Mahapatra was mentioning, that stretch and the length and the dredging required, what is basically to be done, and how much approximate cost I will get it calculated from my office. First of all, I will get the survey done, and then dredging requirement, and then dredging cost, then availability of budget, and in case need be, then I will try to reappropriate it if the budget is not available. Then I will, after approval, then I will initiate the tendering process. In case we have the dredgers in hand readily available in Bhubaneswar, then we can deploy those dredgers also. Or we can engage Dredging Corporation of India for dredging, or through the private contracts of dredging. We can get it done, but the potential viability as well as the technical possibilities, that is to be ascertained by the field officers, and then we will get it done as early as possible, as suggested by the Mahapatra sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gautam, for being so proactive and taking decisions. Very nice. Really appreciate that.
Thank you, Chairman sir, and definitely it is all our duty to do whatever best we can do, and within the limited resources and restrictions we have. But surely we will definitely find a large potential in Odisha, and some of the people from your state are also connected with us regularly in other projects also. So definitely we would like to have feedback from them also. With this, if it is a lunch break, then we can go ahead with that, and thereafter also, in case I find slot, I will join with my camera on, and then would.
It is my mistake. There's no lunch break. It is lunch. We are calling it.
It's over now. So we have asked, as Mr. Behra had announced earlier, the one-page note from everyone, and then we will go to the next phase.
Mr. Rai Chaudhary, you will please prepare a note on this portion of waterway I mentioned.
Yes, sir. I will do it and hand over to Gautam.
Yeah, you please send it to me so that we can send it officially.
I'll do that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. I think we've had a very meaningful session, and some people were missing. Of course, we missed Mr. Das's presentation, so we'll collect that and make use of it. Maybe on the next occasion, we'll have him first on the board, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Rai Chaudhary is